Hi everyone, it's Natalie here. If I look a little bit dopey or not quite myself, that's because I got into something yesterday on my afternoon walk with my dog, and it literally turned like the palms of my hands started itching, and then like everything from about here upwards on both hands just turned purple. I don't know what happened. I don't know what I got into. But I immediately came in when I got back from the walk and I washed my hands. And then what did I do after that? I took Benadryl. And Benadryl, even in small doses, is very hard on my system. So I kind of passed out from being exhausted. So it's a very weird time. I'm drinking a lot of water and just kind of trying to rehydrate and get back together again. Fun times. And I've got my little candle here off to the side. I'm out of like fun candles that have scents already added to them. So I put in some, let's see, yeah, I can see this, some Young Living Energy oil, because let's face it, I need a little boost. Hell, I'm just gonna do a little bit of this here right now. There we go. A little bit of energy, a little bit of something there to do us some good. Okay. Gotta have fun with these things, don't you? There we go. I'm just getting rid of that extra light. I think that's better. That feels better. Okay. It was just, yeah, it was dark in here when I got up. It's not dark now. So, that said, I'm not probably as bright, but we're going to be switching over the camera angle anyway. So, happy Sunday, everybody. Happy, last week of April, beginning of May. Is that crazy? I'm losing, I'm sure everybody is. We're all losing track of time. I'm just going to switch my phone off to silent because my mom just texted. She has the X-Wing fighter sound from Star Wars, because it's either Star Wars or owls on my phone. So this week we're going to work with the Tarot de Saint Croix. I don't know why. I just felt drawn to it this week. It's so bright and orange and sunny and lovely, and yeah, we just had a lot of crummy weather here, but who doesn't want something bright and cheerful, right? Yeah. Oh, I love this deck. Okay, so we're going to work with this one. And I thought to go along with it, just to start, we would have a keyword for the week to go with it from the Sovereign Oracle. And I don't know if I've shown this one on my channel yet. I use it a lot on Instagram because I use this deck with my Santos and Signs and Madonnas and Virgins decks, but they're little teeny tiny words, and look how there's so many of them. They have this beautiful Fibonacci spiral on the back. They're just wonderful. Oh, I have earrings that match. I should have worn those earrings. That would have been fun, but I didn't. Alas, I did not. So never mind. So we're going to play with these. And then I think maybe if the mood is right, we're going to finish with the Tree Spirit Oracle. And this is by Simon Lilly. So I know that the Tree Spirit Tarot has been going around a lot, and the name of the author, Laurel Virtue Waters. There we go. Her name has come up a lot lately, but this is not hers. This one's by Simon Lilly, and they're glyphs. He created glyphs that go along with them. There's a lot of them as well. They're very bright, very cheerful, and this is a Tree Spirit. It's one of the first decks that I got when I came back to working with Tarot and Oracle again, because of the connection that I feel with trees and nature, and it is so connected. It's such a wonderful deck. It's the one that sits in the little chest on my desk all the time, and you'll see because I'll pull it from there. All right, let us go ahead and switch the camera angle around. Ta-da! Here we go. Yay! Here we are. All right, so I think my little deck here is small enough. You know what? I'm clumsy, and I just had all the drugs. All the drugs. Oh, my body doesn't like It doesn't like drugs, y'all. It does not like any kind of, it's just not into it. If it says may cause drowsiness, guess who's going to pass out? Me. So, let me find our Fool here. So we're looking for is a very fun and crazy Fool. Nope. Similar to that Seven of Swords, though. It's a trickster. Yeah, okay. Kind of had a feeling if I just started, moving, it would show up. So here's our Fool. And, yeah, I love this Fool. So the Fool is acting as our significator. This is a very wonderful card. I'm just looking at the little shadow puppets and how good they are. So we'll shuffle him back in, him, them, and begin. Okay, so our jumper was the King of Pentacles there. We'll just keep that in mind. And I'm going to just put it back in here. And we'll start our first operation. We don't need the oil there, making a display. Okay. Okay, so we'll start with wands. Nope. Cups. Aha. Okay. Well, we haven't been in the cups pile for a while. We spent a lot of time over here and a little bit of time here. And finally last week we were back over here in wands. So cups this week. So emotions, feelings, emotions, relationships. That's so interesting. A lot of people are really struggling with relationships right now, with family members and kind of having interesting relationships with people that they haven't heard from in years. I certainly have had that experience, and I know a lot of people who have. So it's a really fascinating time. So relationships and feelings, emotions, etc., that come along with that. Possibly also to do with family, which would make a lot of sense if you're in quarantine with family members. Anything that comes up this week is most easily going to be dealt with through feeling. So, it will be choosing, what does the heart say over what is your brain and rational mind telling you? What do you feel? Go with your gut, go with your feelings, go with your heart. Yeah, that's the main thing. All right. So we'll go ahead and move these out of the way and begin setting up. Let's see. Okay, so I left the lovely desert rose that I have there in the middle. These come from Oklahoma. So when I was in Oklahoma, I got a bunch of them from a hoodoo shop that I went to because I needed to get some different herbs and candles and things and stones and everything to do some healing work with my godmother while I was down there. So I got some. Oh, isn't that cool? So I got a bunch of new stones, and I haven't really shown or talked about them much, but anyway, we'll put our lovely desert roses here in the middle because they're just so beautiful. Okay, so I have to feel like I need to make those even. Okay, that feels better. Because I'm just like that. Okay. I like aesthetics. So anyway, well, here we are. We've got our Fool pulled out, and we're going to count counterclockwise. Our Fool is facing counterclockwise this week. So we have 1, 2, 3. Our first, okay, big one. First one here is the 5 of Cups. Yeah, I already have a sense of what this is relating to, potentially. That energy feels really clear to me. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 4 of Swords. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, nice. We have the Magician. Yep. Okay, and then the Magician is... See, I've got my little general reading cheat sheet over here. That's what I'm always referring to, just because when I get nervous in the moment, having that there is really helpful. So I take it with me on readings and everything, just to be on the safe side. So yeah, as you can see, the Magician is a planetary card, so worth 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nice. King of Cups. Okay, kings are worth 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and that completes our cycle. So a much smaller sampling of things to look at this week and be with, although, oh no, it's actually 4 cards, because our Fool is not part of our spread. So yeah, interesting, very interesting. I have quite a bit to say about that, but we will come back to it in the other angle. So I'll see you the other side of this. Okay, so looking at this week, we've got 4 cards. They're kind of intense, but I see this as really, overall, it's actually pretty positive. I did go ahead and pull a sovereign oracle card. So ta-da! And it's vitality. So protect your energy, invite life-affirming relationships, release energy vampires, and honor your body's requests. So fascinating. This, we have a week that showed up in the Cups pile, and that is going to definitely be about some, the body's energy, relationships. Yeah. So kind of reevaluating. I think there's definitely going to be some reevaluating this week. But I feel like all for the better and all for the purpose of empowering us. I already kind of set this up so I could put our little card here. Ta-da! So that we can be reminded as we're going through all of these cards, what the key word is. So I do, we've got the 5 of Cups as our kind of major card of the week in its own way. And I really want to talk about this one because it's one that a lot of people really fear, right? We really fear, like, oh no, 5 of Cups, that's a horrible card. There's so many positive things about this card that are not immediately obvious because, of course, in the midst of it, it's going to look like this. But if you look closely in this particular card, there are birds flying out of these cups, which I think was a really interesting choice on the part of Lisa de Saint Croix. Something is being released and let go of. This card is one that I never forget when I heard her talk about this in a workshop. Those of you a lot of people probably know who she is. Melissa Sanova is a local tarot card reader and author who's become very, very popular recently. Well, she's been popular for a long time, but I mean, the release of 2 of her books has made her even more popular. How about that? And she's a really cool person. I went to one of her tarot reading, or one of her tarot courses for beginners, almost a year ago. Actually, I think it was this weekend a year ago. Isn't that weird? So the thing that she said in there that I really appreciated, and I've forgotten that she'd put it in her kitchen table tarot book, which I'm going to show you in a minute. She calls this the maybe life card. Okay. So there is a maybe life, or I'm going to say even the life that we were all living, right? This is, we have an idea of what our future is going to look like. We have an idea of the way things are going to be. And of course, because it's the future and it hasn't happened yet, or it's a possibility that's not been realized, right? One way or the other. If we can see that it's not going to happen the way we expected, there's often grief. It feels like something has been completely lost. Because we had 3 cups, they were full, we were excited about it, but it's gone. It's not happening anymore. And yet there's the potential where there are 2, there can be 3, right? Where there are 3, there can be 4, 5, 6, etc. There's always the possibility to multiply, into an infinite number of potentials and possibilities and outcomes. But when we're stuck here on this side of the shore, which isn't even a far shore, you step over to the other side, right? But we can't see it when we're stuck in that. And my sense is that as we go into this week, there will be a lot of us who suddenly recognize, okay, the truth of the matter is this, this is becoming or has become the new normal, the way that we're living right now. Or that plans that we had, things that we wanted to do or accomplish, or move forward with in our lives are simply not going to happen the way that we had hoped or intended. And so it will probably bring up some grief. It may bring up a little grief. It may bring up a lot of grief. For some of us, there will be a small amount of letting go. For some of us, there will be a tremendous amount of letting go and grief. It's going to be very, very relative. Okay. And this is, it's this week's reading, but with a general reading the way that I do them, we're not just looking at 1 week's energy. I think most of us have figured that out or know that by now. But, in the event that there's any uncertainty or lack of clarity of that, just be aware that is the dynamic that we're playing with. We're looking at what is the trend among many that is arising most powerfully this week, but with the recognition that these are things that are happening before this moment. These are things that are happening in this moment, and things that will be happening for a little while. They're trends. They're things they're energies. They're energies. And resolving those energies is not the matter of a week. It's usually a matter of much more than that. So I did want to just share, since I mentioned her book, because I think she writes about it so concisely and beautifully in her book. So this is Kitchen Table Tarot by Melissa Sonova, which I so beautifully bookmarked with my pen. But here's what she says about the 5 of Cups. And she's got it, I can't remember what deck this is, but anyway. She says, I call this the maybe life card. I talked with a friend who said that his high school sweetheart was pregnant with her first child, and that it completely emotionally devastated him. He said that he felt stupid, since it's been almost 20 years since he loved her, but that it hurt like he loved her and lost her just yesterday. I got a little affronted at his dismissal of this love. It's real, it existed, and it probably still exists in some form. I don't know that it was the love that hurt him either. I think it was the death of the maybe life. 20 years ago, he saw her in his future, his children, his home, and his forever. He watched himself grow old and die with her by his side. Even though life stepped in and separated their paths, that maybe life was still breathing, just a little, until her path shifted just enough to make the maybe life completely impossible. There would be no heartfelt reunion, no shared children, no home, no future. Not anymore, not this time around. Okay, so that just kind of illustrates what kind of a grief that is. And she doesn't diminish that in here. It's a reality. It's a very, very real thing. And I think it doesn't just apply to a situation like the one she was describing. I think it really applies, and can apply in the way that I just phrased it as well. So there may be some awkward cuts here and there as I get up and get water, or have to clear my throat because, spring allergies. But I'm not someone who feels like hermetically sealing their home with air conditioning and so on. So I still open the windows and let fresh air in and do all of that, and go outside. But anyway, our next one here is the Four of Swords. So what's the best thing to do in order to figure out, how do we get to the other shore? How do we cross into that space, as available as it may be? We need some space, right? So I think, put all the swords down, put the arguments away, let thinking subside, and just do your best in whatever way that may be, just simply to be with whatever is coming up, okay? So with whatever happens this week that brings up a sense of the Five of Cups in a smaller or a larger way, can you just find a way to let it alone? When these come up, when moments like this come up, it's very common that we'd love to use the mind, in the mind space to bypass the way that we feel, okay? Because it's hard to be in the body and it's hard to be in the emotions in a difficult moment. If there's a way to allow the mind to stop in whatever purpose that, whatever way you do that, is it through exercise? Is it through, how do you stop your mind so that you can just be? I'm going to suggest that it may not be this kind of like meditative stillness. For many of us, there's too much energy there to be able to be still. How can you be with that energy and move it move the energy rather, in order to find that mental clarity and stillness, right? To stop the mind, because you can't think your way out of grief. You can't think your way out of feeling whatever you feel, right? The emotions, no amount of religiosity or theoretical spiritual enlightenment is going to get you, to get your emotions to stop. I belonged to a Zen order for a while that was extremely male dominated, and run by Westerners. And there was a real tendency in that order to completely dismiss emotions as being utterly like not the truth. There was no room or space in that particular order or its mindset for there to be a relative truth, right? I mean, there are absolute truths. The absolute truth may be, of course, that this is not, everything. Your emotions are not the truth in the absolute. But in the relative, when they're coming up while you're occupying a human body, of course they are. Of course they are. So, spiritual bypassing of any kind when it comes to emotions is just, it's not helpful. So it may be that this is something that's been welling for a while. But either way, we're going to be asked to really deal with that this week. And finding a way to quiet the mind is going to be a big part of that. Personally, I can't quiet the mind so much through this. I mean, I can, but not when stuff like this is coming up. I either have to literally let the emotions come up and kind of almost vomit them, and sob and cry and let myself do that, or I find that I have to move. Sometimes I have to get out and run or do yoga. I need to do something that allows me to get into the body and into the place where I'm holding those emotions so that they can be freed up, or so that I can be more in touch with their essence. Sometimes it's not about crying. Sometimes it's about just feeling, and sensation. And when that's the case, it's just so much better when you can get into that space, feel what's there, and then allow that energy to shift. And the purpose behind it, of course, is because it will help us to protect our energy and reclaim our vitality. When we can move and shift the energies in the body in a way that's helpful and constructive, it frees that energy up, so that like this delightful Sufi, we have that energy spiraling up and through the body in a way that it can be used. We become eminently creative, and connected with source and with source energy. And in that way, we become a sorcerer. And in so doing, we have more of a sense of being empowered about the choices we make, about the way that we can see our lives moving forward. So we may not really be in a place to make any of those decisions right now, but we are in a position to be able to become re-empowered, to recognize that we have that ability. Okay. It will also, going through this less glamorous, process here, with the 5 of Cups and the 4 of Cups, will also make the King of Cups within each of us a lot more available. Okay. This King of Cups is any King of Cups, right? The King of Cups is a master of his own emotions. And he knows how to be with them, how to let them through, how to let them pass. And within that, there is a sort of mastery and a sort of comfort, and recognizing, wow, something difficult came up, but I knew how to be with it. I knew how to manage it, right? And that too is a way of protecting our vitality. I love too in this particular King of Cups card that looks like a Shih Tzu, or possibly like a Schnauzer who has not had its ears clipped. A sweet dog that's really a companion animal. When you think about how soft and tender, even a king, even somebody with a lot of, power whose human side you don't see very often, an animal can soften us to the core that way. So maybe also an invitation, in the midst of all of this, to really reconnect with things that nourish and nurture the heart in a way that's really loving and kind. Yeah. Really loving and kind. Okay, so, another thing I just noticed I thought, oh yeah, I do want to point that out, is just how he's sitting on this chessboard. He's in the middle of a game, but he's not actively playing that game. Do you notice? Let's draw a tree spirit card. I had said before that this is the deck that sits back here. I don't know how visible it is right now, but it's this deck that's back in this chest. I'm going to go ahead and draw us a card, and I'll be right back. So the card that we drew is number 22, which is also known as the yew tree. Oh, I love this card so much. It's easily one of my favorites. I think I'm just going to put it here for now while I read this. So the book, just to show you, you get 2 full pages of just incredible information, but I will leave this sitting the way it is so that you can see the card while I read this. So the image to keep in mind when imagining the yew, and the yew stands for a teacher, right? Or the teacher. The yew tree it teaches us lessons. The images that we're going to have to awaken from a daydream. The issue is a reality shock, which really puts us very powerfully in alignment with that 5 of Cups. The keywords for this card: important lessons, insight, clarification, reevaluation, revelation, and surprise. Yeah, the situation that it describes would be one where hidden things will be revealed, a time of profound insight and awakening, and personal teaching. Okay, so so far we're doing real well here. It's really giving us a lot about what kind of information we've got for this week. In the larger paragraph, he says the most profound insights, the revelations that change our thinking and way of life, are not necessarily dramatic events that would stand out in the memory of others. The most important lessons do not necessarily concern new things at all, which is why they might appear so unremarkable to other people. Something that is understood as an intellectual fact, as received wisdom, as common knowledge, is very often only known at the intellectual level. When the knowledge sinks into the emotions, it is felt in the body and realized by the spiritual core of the individual. Then its relevance may be really seen for the very first time. For this reason, spiritual teachers always stress the priority of personal experience over intellectual understanding. What can shake us to our depths are often incommunicable to others using ordinary speech. The attempt to explain what is so significant rapidly collapses into generalizations, platitudes, or cliches. Mystics have learned to express their experiences by roundabout methods, poetry, music, or riddles. Wow. So that really, to me, when he says that about mystics, that's just so crazy because, of course, we have Sufi, the great Sufi mystic Rumi being portrayed on this card, and he mentions roundabout and poetry and so forth, and that's exactly what this is about, in this card. So it's not just, it's maybe understanding. It's not just getting back in touch with our own personal power and recognizing what's possible, but maybe also doing that through, kind of a sideways or roundabout method. It may be that we need to express through poetry, through, what does he say? Music, riddles, art, things like that. Yeah. Wow. This is wild. Personal experience can only be shared by those who have also had a similar experience. Because of this, those receiving profound lessons can often feel cut off from the people they know. Isolation can only be ended by finding those who understand what you are trying to express. This helps to reduce the fear of insanity that can so easily come up when the ineffable pierces through into the mundane. When cozy normality is shattered by a new view of things, suddenly coloring the world in a completely different light. With the new information comes a reevaluation of one's situation priorities, which we talked about. But you can see clearly how it relates to all of the different things that have come up this week, including vitality, I feel. Yeah. So as you have, you may be having revelations about things. And the Five of Cups suggests that they may not be very easy, not very simple ones to reconcile with. Look at how the colors came out, too, in harmony with, with all of this. It's so interesting. It may not be comfortable, but it will be significant. So with vitality, protect your energy. Don't speak your truth about these things to the people who can't receive it with wisdom. Just be cautious. Those moments for us are like, they are precious jewels. They really are. They should be guarded similarly. Yeah. All right, folks. So with that said, I wish you well. That on your journey, and I'm thinking of everyone. All right. I will see all of you next time. Take care. Bye.